Hello there girls and boys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna be reacting for the first time to Björk, one of those artists that are quite unique, that has her own voice and, well, her music is extremely, well, it's a thing, okay? It's her music, it has its own charm and some people loves it, some other people hates it, and some other people are trying to come up with their own conclusion to wherever she is actually outputting. But there is no denial that she's a great performer and there are plenty of great moments whenever it comes to music production that we can analyze on this channel, so we can learn from it. So if this is your jam, let's rock and roll. But before we go, if this is your first time on the channel, I welcome you because in here we analyze the music that at times I don't happen to be a big fan of, in a way to expand our knowledge when it comes to music production and songwriting in general, using language that anybody can understand. So if this is your jam, now it's time to rock and roll. So here we go, girls and boys, Unravel by Björk. Okay, how about that? If you have never heard Björk's music before, this might have got you out of your comfort zone, because her music, it's very, very eclectic. It's super, I would even dare to say, kind of insane, and I'm not saying that as an insult. It's simply that it's super out there. It's not for everyone, that's for sure. And I, for one, I happen not to consider myself a fan of her music, but I have huge respect for her as an artist and as a performer. Her performances are insane. But I decided to pick this track in particular because I love the vocal performance in this one. As you saw me, I was even making faces at certain points due to the amount of emotion being portrayed by her through the singing. One of the things that I like the most about her vocal style, which is quite unique to her, by the way, is the use of tempo. Tempo is the rhythm that we musicians use to take decide the pacing of any given track or how fast we're performing, right? For those of you who are not into this terminology. And the thing is that she's usually kind of quirky and weird and kind of putting in a very nice and unique way. You saw at the beginning even how the whole track, she took her time getting into it, even adding a little bit of an stuttering to it, which was quite nice and adds tons of personality. Also, I find her vocal style to be quite interesting as well, due to the fact that her voice sounds kind of shy at certain points, and this is a matter of opinion, of course. But then she goes nuts and delivers those powerful high-pitched notes, and also not only high-pitched but also robust sounding. Does that make sense to you? She has plenty of power in her vocals. But it's a very interesting mix of both. And her personality is quite palpable, don't you think? Very interesting artist and singer, by the way. Also, now, coming a little bit more into the territory of what we usually do in this kind of analysis, the mix is quite simple. Well, not the mix itself. What I meant to say was the arrangement itself. There are very few elements in the arrangement. You got this bum, 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 that are kind of sounding like cellos, but don't know exactly what they are because this is, even though super simple in arrangement, the whole production, it's insane. There are plenty of things being done to everything happening and coming out of our speakers at this very moment. Well, throughout the music, of course. Uh, and it's kind of hard for me to pinpoint what kind of instrument she decided to use in this particular section of the track. We got this kind of thing that could be a sample, which is a recorded, a pre-recorded instrument and then being processed afterwards. That's a possibility because she's renowned for using those. Also, it could be a synthesizer. It could be both at the same time. Don't know. That this is the interesting part of her music. It's very, very, very unique. I usually, when it comes to describing music, I don't understand why people began using the concept of uniqueness as something good. It's just an asset. It's just a particularity of a given track. Because if that was the case, we wouldn't be listening to old music, right? Because it's old. What's the point of us listening to something old when you can listen to something new, right? That doesn't make sense, of course. In her case, her music is unique. And it could be seen by some people as a good thing. It could be seen by some other people as not necessarily a great thing. And for someone like me, I enjoy some of her music, not everything. I'm being very frank. I don't consider myself once again a fan. But again, I can't stop praising this fantastic artist for what she does. Now, I want you to pay attention to the drums because the drums are very sparse, but they are quite present in the mix. And you will hear them in a muffled sound. They sound like this, like right? But it's coming out of an effect that is known as a filter. And look at this, my voice is being filtered right now. And what you do with a filter is removing some of the frequency spectrum, and in this case, they are removing some of the high end of the sound of the drums, giving this muffled sound. Cool, because it adds this introspective aspect to the music that it's enhancing the whole emotional load of the track. Also, you can see her voice. It's also kind of raw, yet quite affected by parallel effects. Parallel is effects that are coming by the sides, okay, or not necessarily affecting the core of the signal, her voice in this case. And we got a very good combination of delay, which sounds like this, delay, and reverb, which sounds like this, reverb. All of them are known as time-based effects. And those guys, one is, as you could hear, the delay is creating repetitions, while the reverb is creating ambience, like adding a release tail to the sound. But there is something funny happening here. Pay attention to the vocals once the song begins again, and see how long it takes for the sound of the reverb and the delay kick in. It's gonna be a while. It gives you this kind of interesting back and forth element. So the sound of the vocals will feel dry first with no effect, but for a few milliseconds, and then you're gonna feel surrounded by the sound of vocals. Very clever. Let's keep listening to this.
While you are away, my heart comes undone slowly. Unravels in a ball of yarn, a devil collected, who is a grin. Our love in a ball of yarn, he'll never return. It comes back
Short and sweet, right? This is a very, very, very great example of great use of creativity and also the use of special effects to convey an emotion. Let me take you back to the screen now. Over here we got our tool that has been in front of us from the entire time throughout this analysis, and this is known as Decibel. For those of you who know, well, you know, but for those of you who don't know, this is a tool that we use to analyze music through the use of a visual medium. Over here, the first section is showing us the frequency range response of every single one of the frequencies that are part of our music. In this case, we got 20 hertz, which is the lowest we can hear, all the way down to 20,000 hertz, which is the highest we can hear as human beings. And here's the big one. We got plenty of the low end, the thing that I was referring to at the beginning when I was mentioning the sound of the kick drum. Well, not the kick drum, the drum kit in general, or the drum box, or yeah, there is some form of a rhythm box being used as a way to generate the rhythm. And we got this kind of muffled sound that is quite heavy on the lows, but it's not gigantic. This is not extremely prominent, and that's clear because the sound of the low end is not that bombastic as it could be heard in some other records. Also, we got a very present mid-range, and particularly, and this is surprising, mid-range. We got this bump, and it makes sense because most of the energy coming out of this is the combination of the kick drum, the attack of the kick drum, the part of it, and it could even be a little bit of it, but also a little bit of the core of the sound of the quasi cellos that are part of the harmony. Harmony, for those of you who don't know, is the harmonic bedrock, or if I put it correctly, it's the background for the sound of the singing voice. In mind that we're discussing a movie. In this case, Björk is the main actor, and she's the performer, of course, but the scenery would be the sound of the music. That's basically harmony, and the main actress, in this case Björk, or Scarlett Johansson, if you're like me, is going to be the melody, and both of them create the scene. And rhythm would be the pacing of the actions taking place. In here, of course, we got this prominent area because it's where most of the harmony comes from. But also, this is, and I was expecting something a little bit more present over here in the high end, because this is where we're gonna find most of Björk's singing. Her vocal style is a high pitched one, but it's quite clever. Well, not quite clever. It's surprising to me because the mix is quite dark sounding. Once again, we're facing one of those mixes on which we don't have that big amount of high end energy. This is important, girls and boys, because when I mentioned the use of production to enhance or propel the emotional load of any song, in here we got a good example of it, because by removing some of the high end of everything, you remove some of the detail, the perceived detail of the sounds that we are listening to while enjoying the music. And in this case, you create a much more kind of like retrospective, nostalgic sound by removing some of those details. That's why that lo-fi thing with modern music has that particular connotation for whatever it is, okay? But now you understand why it sounds the way it does. And we got a good example here. Now, this section over here is the second part of our analyzer, and here's where we got the description or the display of the dynamic range, which is the relationship between the loudest and quietest parts of the track throughout time. And it's going to be represented by this blob. This blue blob represents how loud each of the or each of the sections of the song was at any given point in time. And the bigger it becomes, the louder it gets, of course. And you can see that the song began quite quietly, and even though we're dealing with a very minimalistic track, you can see that the song evolved in volume and reached a very loud peak over here. This is the chorus, the first chorus of the track. And see what happens once I push the rest of when we get closer to the second point of the song. That's the starting point for the second verse. It's super loud, and it will get louder all the way down to the end. That's very important because, once again, for those of you who are new to this concept, dynamic range, it's one of the main forces behind our understanding of the emotional charge of a track. The louder a song becomes, or the louder a section of a song becomes, the more interesting or more impactful that song or that section becomes, or it's perceived by our human brains. And the quieter it becomes, the more introspective, the more close to us it's felt. And this song being so emotional and very kind of like very personal sounding, you get those moments of intensity, but just in the right spots. The whole track began as, once again, super quiet, and it evolved, and it keeps drawing you into its own world, just for you to be not blasted, because it doesn't come out of nowhere. It actually builds up naturally and slowly. But when it hits you right in the feels, doesn't it? The singing is excellent as well, of course, and the arrangement is quite clever. So now you see another reason why her music is extremely well crafted. One more thing, the song has plenty of great use of dual vocals, not dual in the sense of both tracks singing at the same time together. No, she was actually answering back to her own singing. And that's a great, it's interesting because once again, it's impossible for that to be replicated live, of course, without the use of either another singer or some form of backing track. But in here, in the music production realm, everything is actually possible, and it gives you another instance of emotion. Very cool. So please, tell me what you think about this track. And if you happen to be a Björk fan, please show me another track by her that I would like, or that could be in the veins of this one, because again, I am kind of versed when it comes to her music, but I'm not a big connoisseur. So if you happen to have another track that I might enjoy based on this one, please let me know and we can analyze that guy together. Girls and boys, thank you for joining, thank you for watching, and again, if you have any question or any form of commentary, please leave it in the comment section down below. And of course, if you like to support this channel, the best way to do it is by listening to our music on Apple Music or Spotify, and also by joining us on Instagram and X, because that's the best way for you to get in touch with us in a much more personal basis. Now, girls and boys, as every single time that I meet you, I can remind you something. Never, ever, ever let anybody tell you what to dream about. And remember that I will see you when I see you.